final leader of the Ottoman Empire is eliminated. Turkey is declared a republic, and the last Muslim superpower to date has been just thrown into pieces. But if you're like me, you've probably wondered to yourself at one point, what has happened to the mighty empire of Islam? What has happened to the Islamic glory days we were introduced to as kids? Compared to the flourishing of Muslim communities in over a period of 1,000 years in medicine, science, followed by the Islamic Empire being one of the largest and longest lasting empires in history, it's truly painful to see a once thriving Islamic community experience a relentless upheaval, falling into a devastating collapse, falling into agony. What is now seen in the Islamic world, from wars, to famine, to poverty and disease, poses a very important question. What was the cause of such a devastating downfall? How has it gone from a state of prosperity to an ultimate war zone in a span of 100 years? And most importantly, is there a solution to such a broken society? I can't promise you a one-step solution to all these problems, but what I can promise you is a guideline, a ladder of steps that if we follow, we will surely reap its benefits. And be sure this will not be a video blaming other countries or civilizations for our downfall, but rather a video exposing the true problems that lie within our communities, the problems within ourselves. Now, before we dive into the causes of our downfall, and in order to get a better understanding of how much the Islamic world really did change, allow me to take you all the way back to the medieval ages, where once existed the most powerful and advanced Islamic civilization in history. A quick Google search asking the question, when did Islam reach its peak, will direct you to quite a popular answer. Islam's Golden Age. A period in Islamic history under the Abbasid dynasty, which ruled from the 8th to the 13th century, during which science, economic development, and cultural work flourished. Islamic Empire at the time was the hub, the core, the center point of knowledge and technological advances. Muslims excelled and made numerous contributions in various areas of philosophy, art, healthcare, and sciences. Some of the most important discoveries ever known to man were made at the time, from the crankshaft, to algebra, to cataract surgery. The Golden Age of Islam was truly a time to remember. Now yes, this golden time did come to an end, as the caliphate collapsed due to Mongol invasions. But Muslims didn't stop there. Shortly after the fall of the Abbasid dynasty in 1323, another empire started to form.
The Ottoman Empire in the hands of...
For the next 600 years, there would be a new power in town. The Ottomans would go on to rule significant parts of the world, controlling large areas of the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and North Africa. Islam was flourishing in every way, shape, and form, from one invention to another, from one academic achievement to the next. Islam was known for what it really is, a religion that takes humankind from darkness to light. But unlike the state of the Islamic world today, you could see much of these countries in ruins. Muslim-majority countries like Palestine, Syria, Yemen, Libya are in turmoil, essentially becoming a bloodbath. But that's exactly what I'm trying to figure out today. What was the cause of such a loss of unity among the Muslim population? What was the cause of such a change in circumstance? How come a period of intellectual enlightenment no longer exists throughout the Muslim world? And it seems like the destruction has been done with our own bare hands. Now I've essentially posed the questions to you, and we've gotten familiar with the Islamic civilization's successes and current failures. So you may ask, then what is causing this nation to have fallen behind? And the answer can be quite simply summarized in 3 tangents. Let's look at the broader picture first. Starting off with history. We've got to get familiar with our past and the series of events that have helped shape the modern Islamic world today. And you don't look too far back and you could see World War I, the British launching an attack on the Ottomans, and for the first time breaking down the political structure that went all the way back to the Prophet's peace and blessings be upon him, followed by the Sykes-Picot Agreement, where the Arabs teamed up with the British to help take down the Ottoman Empire, and also the Balfour Declaration, which promised the Zionist Federation an independent state located in the midst of Palestine. And as you can see, the Muslim nation was starting to get carved up into tiny little pieces. Politics is up next. The political game is a dirty one. There's ultimately a few big players in the game who dictate how things should work. And in this time and age, Muslims and Muslim lands tend to suffer the most, whether it's because of the West's so-called human intervention or because of the funding of extremist groups. Muslims are currently the main target. And finally, religion. We have to face the truth at one point. We have lost connection with our faith. We have gotten away from the teachings of our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and we've gotten so disconnected from Islam that certain ideologies far from its teachings are starting to seep into our hearts. But taking a deeper look, it's apparent that all three categories share something in common. It's a mentality issue. A mentality of selfishness, greed, superiority, a desire for power and wealth. And what many people fail to see is that a large part of the problem lies within us. We often distract ourselves from our own flaws by simply blaming everything on the West. And as it might be true to some extent that things like the US's human intervention created chaos in some of our countries, it was ourselves that have allowed such things to occur in the first place. I mean, the actual agreement, the plan to throw off the Ottoman Empire and to divide the Muslim world, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, was allowed and put forth by some of our own communities as the Arabs marched together with the British with a single aim in mind, to take down the Caliphate. And you don't look too far off the horizon. The selfish mentality that we have acquired has resulted in the massacres that are currently taking place. This disunity in our communities has caused us to become more weak and fragile than ever before. And so it's true. The damage has been done with our own bare hands. Blaming the West for our shortcomings has been the go-to excuse. And perhaps it's time to focus a bit more on our shortcomings and flaws, to develop a sense of brotherhood that we have once acquired, and to go back and invest some of our time into truly learning what our religion is really about. And as much as this sounds like common sense and something you've heard over and over again, it's important to understand what's causing us to lag behind, what's causing us to struggle tremendously, and even more important, to try and find a solution to this issue. It all starts with planting your own seed. The journey of reviving this nation starts within your own family, within your own household. I won't argue that in order to bring the Muslim nation back on its feet that there should be a savior, a hero, someone with the qualities of courage, wisdom, and power that would free the Muslims from the repression they've been facing. No. Society has changed. But rather, we have to take a more communal approach to this issue. I say we have to switch our focus, our full attention on the upcoming generations. We have to teach our children two main things, starting with integration. We ourselves have to firstly understand and teach the Muslim youth one thing. The world is not what it was 50 or 100 years ago. When we now think of success, we think of a lawyer, perhaps an engineer. We want our kids to earn jobs that will only create individual success. But in order to have a powerful effect on society, we have to be influencers and not just skilled workers. We as Muslims have to get quite involved in industries that will have a direct impact on society. Where are the Muslims in the media industry, in academia, in film production? Where are the Muslims teaching in universities? How many Muslims are historians? We have to be influencers. We're not getting involved. We've essentially become spectators. We've isolated ourselves from the rest of the world. And the only reason we've been persecuted this much is because we aren't focusing on those careers, those main positions of today's world. Things like the media can create a substantial effect on society. Things like universities shape the minds of those people in the society. I mean, a career in engineering, for instance, could bring in good money. But how much influence does that engineer have on society? Next up, unity. We have to plant the essence of unity in the youth's hearts. Since we've been struggling to work cooperatively as a community, the next generations need to understand that we will not grow unless we work as a whole. That we will not grow unless we start to love for others what we love for ourselves. Helping build the traits of selflessness and other altruistic behaviors among our children will not only benefit them individually, but the Muslim community altogether. What we are in dire need at the moment is a more unified structure, a more stable society. We need to start thinking of the entire Islamic community's success in not just ways that will bring upon individual success. And it starts with planting and watering the seed of unselfishness in one's hearts from a very young age. And here you have it. These were some of the main issues we Muslims are currently facing. Throughout the video, we were able to discuss and dive deep into the history of several Islamic empires, their successes, and how they were once an unstoppable force. After that, we moved on to exploring exactly what's causing us to lag behind and some of the issues we tend to ignore, and exactly what's holding us back. And finally, capping off with ways upon which we can take our first steps into growing as a community, how certain mindsets have caused us to lag behind, and how teaching upcoming generations about simple ideas of unity can cause tremendous change. But we must not forget, the main reason we've been struggling is because we have lost that connection with Islam. I think it's time we understand our way out of this rabbit hole is by going back to the main teachings and principles of our religion. And of course, I was only able to touch upon the tip of the iceberg. Such a topic cannot be covered in a 10-15 minute video, but rather I was only trying to get you started thinking about the current situation of the Ummah and how we can help solve some of the bigger issues we currently face. Hello brothers and sisters. I really do appreciate you reaching to the end of the video. This has been an absolute joy to make, from scripting to the storytelling part to editing. The whole video was very enjoyable for me, and inshallah I could produce much more content like this, things and topics involving politics, religion, and etc. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's support and with your support, this could be a start to something really special. And I know what I've talked about in this video will never be covered in a short video like this, but I really wanted to get you guys to start thinking about some of the problems that we currently face, and perhaps some of the ways we can actually solve them. And of course, if you think you should be part of the community, you're welcome. And that's it. Till next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.